Hey everybody, it's Specs, and today we're gonna be doing something a little bit different. But I need to make a little bit of an announcement. I am going to be not doing my Road to the Ladder series currently until probably around May because essentially I don't have the time to upload videos daily, and now I didn't do that before, so why does that matter now? And the main reason is as I get higher up in the ladder, I need to play every day. Otherwise, the decay system for Elo is just going to absolutely cut into my ranking. So you know the formula it's irrelevant here, but like I'm gonna lose like a lot of points the higher I get, and if I stop playing. So essentially, if I upload weekly, then like I'm gonna get some wins, and then I'm gonna stop for a week, and then the decay is gonna bring it back to where I started, and then I'm just gonna be stuck in a repetitive cycle. So I don't want to do that. So basically, I'm just gonna let my account drop back to like 1400 or wherever, and instead I'm going to be doing other videos. So well, this is one of them. So yeah, without further ado, I am going to build. I'm going to show you guys how I build in a metagame. So we're going to just stick with Gen 8 OU because, it's the main content I upload anyways. So yeah. So, I mean, first things first, it's, when you're looking at the team builder, it can be a little bit daunting, right? You see all these Pokemon, all these choices, and you're thinking like, how am I going to fit everything onto a team, and how am I going to make sure that there's a lot of synergy there? Well, generally speaking, I just ignore all of that first, and I want to focus on one Pokemon. So, what do I want to use? For example, let's say I want to use Tyrantrum. I noticed that, a strong stab head smash with Choice Band really destroys a lot of the tier. If you're scrolling down looking, I'm not gonna, you guys can look at it yourself, but like, there's not that many strong rock resists in the tier, surprisingly, actually. There is a lot of steel types, but most of those steel types have a secondary typing that makes them not immune. So, sorry, the music's a little loud. I'm gonna turn that down a little bit. Yeah. So essentially, I am going to abuse that. So Tyrantrum, we got Head Smash here with a 150 base power, right? And then you got Rock Head that also makes it so that you're immune to the recoil, and we're just gonna slap on a Choice Band. So right here. So this is the idea that I have, right? So I want Tyrantrum to be a strong wall breaker that breaks the tier down, and then eventually we're gonna have to put some defensive core so that Tyrantrum and like with maybe some like momentum boost so that Tyrantrum can get it safely, and then we should probably have some breakers, not breakers, sorry, cleaners that come in late game that help clean based off of the holes that Tyrantrum made. So yeah, so Head Smash, you got Choice Band, you got Rock Head, pretty cool, right? So let's look at the tiers rock resist and see what moves we should put on the Tyrantrum to help deal with those. So let's scroll down. The first rock resist I see is actually Extra Drill. Tyrantrum got close combat this generation, so I think that'd be a very nice secondary move to put on it. Oh yeah, that's the damage go. We'll get to that later. Scroll down more. We also see Garchomp, so maybe we want to run Outrage in order to one-shot it, especially Tank Chomp variants, because very physically defensive. Invested Garchomps, still don't want to take that very strong Choice Banded Dragon Root. Scroll down a little bit, we have Hippowdon. We will talk about this later, but this Hippowdon is one of the few things that can switch into Tyrantrum essentially for free. Well, not for free. Bandit Outrage is a 3-hit KO, so not fun, but Hippowdon is still like pretty safe to switch in. Like if you don't want any predictions, like Hippowdon is a very safe switch. So next up, let's see, Kartana. We already covered with close combat, so we'll just move on. Magearna. So currently, there's nothing that hits Magearna super effectively on our Tyrantrum, and we can always just put on Earthquake. Though keep in mind, Bandit Head Smash will two-shot a Magearna, an offensive Magearna, so no HP or any defensive estimate. But still, it pays them to have Earthquake just in case you want to go for the one shot or anything like that. Let's see here. And Swampert, Outrage is probably the best we got, but also I'll show you the calcs later. But yeah, so I think that's about it. Oh, we have our Shifu Rapid Strike. But again, I think Outrage is probably just the best option to go with that. And yeah, so I think that's most of OU. For UU, we got Aegislash. Earthquake should do the job unless it's Air Balloon. If it's Air Balloon, then yikes. But you know, again, I will show you the calc very soon. So yeah, speaking of calcs, now I want to make sure that the Tyrantrum has the right EV spread. So you might be thinking like, oh, why don't you just run max attack, max speed, right? There's not much to be thought about here. But you want to make the choice between Adamant or Jolly, and you want to make the choice between like, do I need to run as much speed that I need to outpace stuff in the metagame? So if we look at Adamant speed, you see that it hits 241. So that's a pretty decent benchmark. It outspeeds max speed base 60s. But I want to do something a little bit better, right? If I make it Jolly, which my adamant my adamant brain is just telling me not to do, but if I make it Jolly, you see that I get it to 265, which will outspeed stuff like Modest Heatran and I think max speed adamant base 80s. So yeah, so stuff like, I don't know, Amaswine maybe. That it's probably not gonna be running adamant, but it's still, actually they probably still be running adamant. But point is, like, you get to outpace this, and the most important thing is that you get to outspeed stuff that hovers around the 251 to 253 range, because there's a lot of things that do that. So for example, defensive Lando EV's enough to outspeed Modest Heatran, and then Magearna max speed sits at around 251, and Moltres is at 252 to outpace that. So being at this higher speed tier, I think, is more important than having that extra bit of power. So we're gonna make it Jolly. So there's not much between 260 and 265, so I'm gonna do this. So, and then just put the rest into HP, because might as well. So yeah, now that we have our EV spreads set out, we're going to take this, and we're going to head to the calcs and see what exactly these calcs will do for our Tyrantrum, right? So we're going to see like exactly how much damage it will put out. And it's important that you do this, because you need to know exactly how much damage everything will do. So yeah, if we're looking at Tyrantrum, as I mentioned before, so Hippowdon is one of the few things that can somewhat safely switch in. Keep in mind, Outrage actually does have a chance to two-shot from full. This is to max HP, max defense Hippowdon, so that's kind of crazy, right? And Head Smash is still doing a good chunk. So yeah, if we're looking at stuff like Magearna, you can see that Earthquake actually does not one-shot automatically, but with a Spike Up it does. With the Rocks Up, it's a much higher chance, and as I said before, Head Smash is a guaranteed two-shot, and with the EVs that we have into this, we will outspeed Magearna, and yeah. If we're looking, I just wanted to show you some of these calcs because they're pretty damn scary. Like a max HP, most hella invested in defense Lander's Theorem, right? Like, -1 after Intimidate, it's doing more than half. Like this is not a switch in. Extra Drill 4 times resist rock, and Head Smash is a solid 3-hit KO. So yeah, this thing is really, really, really scary, and obviously close combat will one-shot, Earthquake will one-shot. So yeah. So yeah, as I said before, Hippo is one of the few things that can switch in pretty safely. For the most part, you'll be clicking Bandit Head Smash, and then clicking the occasional like close combat or whatever to hit the resist. But to be honest, like, you don't need to. Like let's say, what did I do? Okay, yeah, sorry about that. If we're looking at Kartana, like, Head Smash is doing. Okay, so Kartana can only switch in once. You can see here, like, you don't need to click anything besides Bend and Head Smash, except for Hippowdon, and Tank Chomp, right? So if we look at that's the wrong Garchomp set. If we look at the Tank Chomp set, you can see that Head Smash is is doing a lot. It's a 3 KO, but keep in mind that you don't want to take so much recoil because this will be Rough Skin plus Rocky Helmet. So if you can read the switch and outrage it, yeah, that's generally better. So yeah, as I said before, Hippowdon's one of the few things that can kind of switch into this pretty safely. I mean, technically speaking, if you get a Spike Layer up, like then it becomes a lot more scary. But I mean, it's outrage, right? Your opponent probably knows you're banded at some point. So like, yeah, you don't, yeah. So essentially, what do we want to do to make sure that Tyrantrum doesn't have to click can just click head smash and kill stuff, right? So my next idea is to put in the Slowbro. I think that with Future Sight, it will be very, very. So if I put in Future Sight, if I set a Future Sight, teleport out, and go to Tyrantrum, suddenly what is switching it? The answer is not much. As I said before, most of those like steel types, 2-shot, and like the only thing that can switch into Future Sight plus Head Smash is probably something like Excadrill. Future Sight plus Head Smash plus Outspeed and threaten to KO Tyrantrum is probably Excadrill. As I said before, Magearna not taking it unless it's Scarf. If it's Scarf Magearna, yeah, you could do that, but it's taking 50 to 60 from Head Smash. It's taking another like 20 to 30 from Future Sight. It's just not a good look, So yeah, I think Future Sight will make Tyrantrum a lot more scary in terms of breaking power. But we're just gonna throw on the Rocky Helmet for Slowbro because, generally speaking, that's how I like to use my Slowbros. And we're gonna make this min speed so we get the slowest teleports against stuff like opposing Slowbro. Okay, so what's next, right? So right now, if I'm looking at this team, I'm noticing that there's quite a bit of a weakness to Rillaboom. Banded Woodhammers is going to be destroying this two-man core right now, right? I mean, yeah, so let's consider alternative. So, one thing I kind of thought was Moltres, right? So 4 times resist grass, it's resist fighting as well, and it also gives this team a good answer to Heatran, because although Tyrantrum resists fire, its special defense is pretty lacking, and switching into a Heatran is not advised, especially since it can also Earth Power you on Switch. But yeah, so and Slowbro, like you would think it's fine, it's a water type and whatnot, but again, Slowbro also doesn't have the best BF in the world, and Magma Storm plus Earth Power plus Taunt, which means you can't slack off or teleport out. Like it means it's not a good sign. It's not a good look. So we're just gonna we need something better for Heatran, and so Moltres is probably one of those things. So keep in mind that Moltres is pretty susceptible to knockoff plus Stealth Rock, so we're probably gonna need some decent hazard control later on. So we're running a Moltres, right? So let's see, we're gonna do the Mystical Fire and Scorching Sands. Yeah, we're just gonna defog, right? So I mean, Moltres is also a hazard clearer, so that's good. I might want to have secondary hazard support just in case Moltres gets knocked off, which could be interesting. Maybe I can just play it more risky and say no though. And as for EV spreads, I will just take. Actually, wait. Let me see if I can remember this. So it's 254, and then I think it was like 88 plus, and then I think max HP. Well, not max HP, and then I don't know, something like this. I'm trying. Yeah, who cares? Actually, no, wait. It's enough to outspeed Magearna, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, something like that. That's probably the smoke on spread or something close to it. So next up, let's see here. So right now we don't have rocks, and right now I'm building what's probably known as the balance team, right? So I kind of want to have rocks, and I already have defog support, which is nice. So let's get those rocks. Currently it's kind of looking okay so far. No, maybe actually forget about the rocks. Let's think about type. Let's think about certain metagame threats. So, right now, certainly Cinderace is mostly covered right now, right? Slowbro switches in on Cinderace pretty well, especially with Rocky Helmet. It's going to be taking chip every time it uses, something like U-turn to hit Slowbro, and Slowbro can switch out to regen. Let's see here. Magearna, right? Magearna is pretty scary. Specs Fleur should be fine with the Moltres, but what I don't want to take right now is Specs Moltres. A Specs Moltres. So let's get a ground type. And you know what? Let's get a ground type with the rock that sets up rocks, and if we can just throw out an another earthquake immunity. So let's just use Landers. And this is one of the reasons why Lando is so good. It provides so many layers of utility, and that's why you see it have so much usage. It has rocks, it has knockoff, it has a electric and a ground immunity, and it provides intimidate support, and it's very bulky because of that intimidate support. Yeah, Lando. There's a reason why Lando's king. So I have a teleport and Slowbro to help. Another reason why I wanted Landers is right. Is because I wanted to give Tyrantrum like more opportunities to switch in, because as it stands, it can't switch into too much of the metagame. As I said before, like you can't even switch into stuff like Heatran. It can maybe switch into Moltres Mystical Fire, but like again, if you predict wrong and it Scorchy Sands you, not a good look. And generally speaking, you don't want to sacrifice your Breaker's health too much, because you want it to come in at least more than a couple times to do some nice breaking, And especially since Tyrantrum is a Pokemon that has only contact moves, which means they'll take Rocky Helmet and Iron Bars damage and whatnot. Like, you want to keep this thing a lot more healthy than it should be. So, yeah. For that reason, I'm going to put U-turn on my Landorus, and last move, I'm probably just going to put knockoff. Generally speaking, you want to remove like heavy duty boots and whatnot. So like if you remove the boots off of Moltres, that's a good start, right? And removing boots off of other things is just helpful in general to help take chips from the rocks that Landorus will set up, and getting rid of leftovers as well will be nice for Tyrantrum breaking later. So yeah. So right now we have these 4, right? And I think the last 2 members should be pretty fast. And I want to use a bait set. So something that can bait in Hippowdon and maybe Toxic it, or do some other sort of shenanigan into it. So generally speaking, maybe an electric type that Hippowdon thinks it's fine to switch into. So let's say something like Top Coco. It's fast and it's decently strong, and it has it brings in a lot of ground types, which Tyrantrum generally doesn't want to see, and it can do something like Toxic. So let's put boots on this thing, because I wanted to switch in a lot of times and not take any hazard damage. And I also needed a thing that helped me switch into Tornado Styrian, and with Roost and some HP and special defense investment, we can do that. So sorry. And for last move, again, let's put U-turn. Let's get U-turn, right, so that I can get Tyrantrum in more and more. So again, let's see. So what type of spread should I use for the Coco? I mean, generally speaking, you probably still want to use max special attack and max speed, but maybe I want to be a little bit more creative, right? So let's look at the calcs. So if I go to Tapu Koko and select offensive pivot, right? And we say, let's look at Tornadus. Let's look at Tornadus theory, right? So, Hurricane's not doing enough to two-chop me or anything like that. So I'm pretty comfortable with those, right? So let me see here. So let's say I want to have more special defense investment anyway, just to help against the Tornadus matchup even more. On the off chance it's running some, if it's running like max special attack, right? This is still doing quite a bit. I don't want to be switching into this too often. I don't want to roost as often. So let's look at our matchup against max special attack Tornado Syrian. So currently right now, Thunderbolt is doing more than enough to kill. So let's say I only want just enough to guarantee the one shot. So looks like 116 is enough. So if I go here, say 116, that leaves me with 148 HP these left, right? And you know, since again I want to get Tyrantrum safely, let's say I want to be a little bit slower than opposing Tapu Kokos, but still fast enough to do other things in the metagame. So something between 394 and whatever benchmark I'm going to hit is Weavile. So Weavile is at 383, right? So let's say I want to run just enough to outspeed that. It puts me down to 216 speed, and I have 176 HP. Not HP, but I have 176 EVs to handle, right? So let's say I'm just gonna throw some random stuff in here, but like, you know, just a general tip to do your own calcs and like see what you want to do with your, what to do with your sets because it's nice. Let's say I want, I don't know, like Toxapex. Okay, let's say how about Corviknight, bulk up, Braver, right? I don't know, like just run enough HP to deal with that and put the rest into special defense or something, right? So like Braver is not doing too much, like like experiment. Go to the calc and like try to see like what type of spread you want. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just throwing this stuff in randomly, but you can experiment on your own. Okay, so last up we still like everything is still pretty. It's like okay fast. Well, it's not like actually not this team isn't pretty fast, right? I have Coco, right, but it's not the fastest thing in the world. So let's add a Scarfer. And I think the most effective Scarfer on this in tier right now is probably Kartana. And it also gives us a Steel type to if I want to be aggressive, switch into stuff like Toxic or whatnot. Because as it stands right now, I don't have a Toxic immunity and I don't have a Steel type. I know Kartana is not generally the mod you use for tanking, but I'm trying to do a little bit of role compression, and hopefully I will be able to use it effectively and aggressively. So like switching on opposing Toxic or other stuff like that. And this will be the late game cleaner for our Tyrantrum, which, by the way, will kill two-shot pretty much everything that Kartana doesn't want to take. So like Corviknight, it gets two-shot. Celesteela gets two-shot. Zapdos and Moltres definitely drop. So yeah. So we're gonna put on these standard movesets. So Smart Strike, Sacred Sword, and you need Knockoff. And then the last move is kind of up to personal preference. You could use Smart Strike, but if you wanted secondary defog support from Moltres, then if like Moltres loses this boost, then yeah, you could run defog here. But I'm just gonna put Smart Strike for now. Again, as I said, you could, but the main thing is here that once you make your team and you think it's good, then it's time to go and experiment. You need to go and figure out that if your team is actually good. So essentially, playtest, right? Because no good team is just going to be good right off the bat. You gotta once you build it, you gotta go onto the ladder and try to experiment and try to figure out if something works or if something doesn't. So like maybe I shouldn't have gotten rid of all the special attack because it kind of mattered in a certain scenario that keeps coming up consistently. In which case, make sure you adjust and make sure you adjust. Sorry, I blanked there for a little second. But yeah, make sure you adjust and adjust your sets and make sure you account for most scenarios. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover today. This team will also be in the description if you want to use it. And I actually already built this team, but I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do this unprepared, so I already built it myself and already somewhat tested it. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.